Good morning to all. It's my great pleasure to say good morning, and I am very proud to start up this webinar with a small prayer. Those who are suffering from the corona pandemic, let's have a 2-second prayer. Thank you all. A warm good morning to all. It's my great pleasure to welcome you all in the webinar on Self-Reliant India conducted by Sri Devi Kumari Women's College, Kozhikode. Our college is situated in Kozhikode at Kanyakumari district. Our college comes under HRC Department of Government of Tamil Nadu. And our college have completed its 52 years of age. So I am in this pandemic period, we are very proud to conduct this webinar. First of all, I would like to say, I would like to welcome our Honorable Secretary M. Anbumani. Today he is not able to attend this seminar due to his busy schedule. In his absence, I wholeheartedly welcome our Honorable Secretary to this webinar. Next, my sincere thanks to our beloved Principal, Dr. C. Vijay Prabha, who is the backbone of all our activities throughout this pandemic period. Her continuous encouragement makes us to conduct so many seminars in this pandemic period. Madam, in this occasion, I wholeheartedly welcome you. Next, I am very happy and I am honored to welcome our today's chief guest, Dr. M. Soundarabani sir. Sir, welcome to this webinar, and we are all very eager to listen to you. Next, my welcome goes to all the faculty members who are all assembled here and who are all eagerly participating in this webinar. Welcome you all, madam and sir, professors. Next, my heartful welcome to all the students. They are students, they are scholars, MPhil scholars, PhD scholars, and other students. Welcome you all for this seminar. And finally, I welcome you on and all. Welcome. Now I request our principal madam to give away her felicitation address. Madam Principal. Hello. Sorry, due to some transmission mistake, she couldn't join with us. Let me take the privilege to introduce our today's chief guest, Dr. M. Soundarabani sir. Sir, I take this opportunity and I am very happy to introduce you in this seminar. Before I handed over this session to our Dr. M. Soundarabani sir, I would like to present his a small brief biodata. After seeing his biodata, he was wondering, we have to reach the peak. So after reading his biodata, I realized that how much he achieved in this academic year. Sir, I am very proud of you and I am very proud to introduce you, sir. Dr. M. Soundarabani is a professor of...
Any network problem?
20 minor and major research projects with the assistance of University Grants Commission, Indian Council for Social Science Research, Ministry of Rural Development, All India Council for Technical Education, Bharat Gyan Vidya Smidhi, New Delhi, and State Resource Center for Non-Formal Education, Chennai. He has guided more than, I'm so sorry. He has guided successfully 31 PhD candidates and 68 MPhil candidates. He served as a mentor for the PDF candidate. He has published 33 books with the ISBN and 148 articles in various international and national journals and the edited books too. More than 200 papers were presented in various seminars, conferences, and visited Malaysia, South Africa, Thailand, Belgium, France, Switzerland, Germany, Australia, Italy, and Sri Lanka for presenting his papers in the international conferences. In addition to teaching and research experience, he served in many administrative positions such as a Directorate of Distance and Continuing Education, Manamani Sundarnath University, Head of the Department, Director of Center for Entrepreneurship Development, Controller of Examination, in charge, UGC Course Coordinator, NSS Program Officers, Deputy Warden for Hostel, Project Director, etc. As an extension activity, he conducted entrepreneurship development training programs at tsunami affected areas with the international funding assistance of International Labour Organization, American India Foundation, United Nations Development Program, etc. etc. He served as a national level. He is a life member of Indian Economic Association, Indian Society for Labour Economics, All India Management Association, Indian Adult Education Association, Indian Society for Agricultural Economics, Indian Academy of Social Sciences, Indian Institute of Public Administration, Association of India, Economists of Tamil Nadu, National Cooperative Union of India, etc. Sir, I take this opportunity to welcome you to this webinar. Now I handed over this session to you, sir. Now, the session is yours. Thank you, sir. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, madam, for your warm welcome and introducing myself in a nutshell. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Most respected college secretary, Mr. M. Anbumani, Principal in charge Dr. C. Vijaya Prabha, HOD Dr. S. Binduja, and the organizing secretary Dr. A. Sandra Prabha, and the faculty members of the Department of Economics of the college, Sri Devi Kumari Women's College, Pulithirai, and dear participants. Good morning to everyone. I am thankful to the Department of Economics, Sri Devi Kumari Women's College, Pulithirai, for especially the head of the department, Dr. Binduja, for giving this opportunity to share my view on self-reliant India. Today, the holy day, Adi Perukku, is a very good day for us. So we selected the day for the discussion on self-reliant India. After the infection of the COVID-19 virus, in order to set right the situation, our Prime Minister announced the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan in the month of May 2020. So it is the right time to discuss the theme self-reliant India. What is self-reliant? PPT. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So it is the right time to discuss the theme self-reliant India. What is self-reliant? Self-reliant means confident in your own abilities and able to do things for yourself, not needing help from other people. Example, learning by a children to dye one's own shoes. It is the ability to depend on yourself to get things done and meet your own needs. An example of self-reliance is growing your own food. An advantage of being self-reliant is being able to undertake and complete tasks independently without having to wait for others. So we have to take our own task without having to wait for others to furnish their part of work. Being self-reliant means not having answer to anyone else for what you do. If it works, you get all the credit and satisfactions. So the self-reliant, so we need not depend on others. We must stand on our own leg. A person could develop a self-reliance based on the characteristics, that is accepting yourself, the first and foremost character, accepting yourself and being your own best friend. Inner confidence, making our own decision, recognize and manage dependence, accepting yourself for who you are, having your own values, not relying on things to feel happiness, decide who you want to be and how you want to get there. So based on these characteristics, a person will be a self-reliant person. Now we are clear about the concept of self-reliant and how do we develop the self-reliant a person, a individual, and also we are clear about the advantage of being self-reliant. So in this introductory part, I have to clear the concept of the self-reliant. Now let us go into our theme, self-reliant India. Around 125 years back, Indian saint Swami Vivekananda, during his visit to America, he visited the University of Michigan, where he told a group of journalists, "This is your century right now, but 21st century is India's century." So he clearly pointed out the 21st century is India's century. Talking about now the present situation, the Prime Minister, our Sri Narendra Modi ji, observed that in order to fulfill the dream of making 21st century, the way forward is through ensuring that country becomes self-reliant. Prime Minister also recalled that 21st century must belong to India. We must strive to make the 21st century India's century, and the path to do that is self-reliant. So the view pointed out previously by our Swami Vivekananda must be materialized. The goal should be reached at present by the present concept self-reliant India. Is it possible to reach the goal? The same, our Swamiji, Swami Vivekananda concept of oneness is what we want to today. We all would need oneness of vision, oneness of mind and effort. That what we see in organizations and successful teams. India, the nation, as an organized and of one mind for self-reliant India. This should be our goal. Ways, methods, processes, procedures, and courses of action can be different, but one idea that has to be common in our prime goal to make India self-reliant. So the view pointed out by our Swami Vivekananda, we must be oneness, the oneness to reach the goal, self-reliant. The Prime Minister remarked that the definition of self-reliance has undergone a change in the globalized world and clarified that when the country talks about self-reliance, it is different from being self-centered. He said that India's culture considers the world as one family, and progress in India is part of and also contributes to progress in the whole world. He noted that the world trusts that India has a lot to contribute towards the development of the entire humanity. So, the question raised, is it possible to reach the goal? So we must have our work in cooperative way, we can reach the goal. Now, the next, why self-reliant India mission? Now, the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, the self-reliant India mission is introduced in our country. Why? Sri Deen Dayal Upadhyay, an influential thinker, in his thesis, Integral Humanism, championed Swadeshi, discarding both socialism and capitalism. We have previously the two important economic concepts, capitalism and socialism, as Western concepts. According to Deen Dayal Upadhyay, discarding both socialism and capitalism is not suited to India. He argued that the use of foreign articles, that is foreign goods, and over dependence on foreign aid, that is foreign investment, is not the road to progress and development. So we need not depend on the foreign goods and the foreign investment it is not suitable our country, according to a thinker, Sri Deen Dayal Upadhyay. There are some reasons. So accepting the view of the Deen Dayal Upadhyay, at present PM, Prime Minister, introduced the concept of self-reliant India based on some other reasons. Here, one of the reasons is vocal for local. As a lesson learned from this pandemic and for encouraging the purchase of local products, the slogan of vocal for local was raised. During the crisis situation, in order to protect the domestic industries, the local suppliers are advised to purchase the local manufacturing products. Indians have to be vocal for about local and buy products from the domestic manufacturers. So in order to protect the local manufacturing, we have to purchase the local products. So the slogan was recently raised, vocal for local. Second reason is the globalization policy. The LPG policy, the new economic policy, was introduced in our country in 1991, the liberalization, privatization, and globalization concept. After new economic policy started in 1991, the policy makers were so much concerned with the idea of globalization that they were not concerned about the domestic manufacturing production. Protection and promotion of industries, self-reliance, etc., with a constant reduction in tariff, the world countries would sell their goods in India at minimal tariff. It was also being said that due to lower tariff, spare parts and finished goods coming from abroad, consumers will get cheaper goods and their standard of living will be better. This is one point of the consumers will get the cheaper products. But at the same time, we are importing more and more products from foreign countries. In 2019, the import of agricultural products, 8.1%. We are also importing agricultural products at the 8.1%. Fuels and mining product 30%. Manufacturing products around 51.7% and others 10.2%. So the import last year import the data source. So heavy import, another reason. Third one is foreign trade deficit. That is, when we import more, we have to face the foreign trade deficit. The country witnessed constantly widening foreign trade deficit since 1991 after implementation of the new economic policy, more rapidly after 2001, and it had reached $190 billion by the year 2012 and 13. After 2013, our trade deficit softened after decline in international oil prices. However, even after that, it remained high and reached around $184 billion in the year 2018 and 19. It means that we are importing much more products from other countries. So foreign trade deficit is another one of the important reasons for the implementation of the Self-Reliant India mission. The fourth reason, problem of unemployment. When we were importing much more and dependence on other countries, Indian industries, either our domestic industries, either shut down or started working at levels far below their capacity. So we cannot be able to compete with the imported products. This directly impacted our employment generation. So when we shut down our domestic production and also when we sharpened our declining in the domestic production, we have to face the unemployment problem. Due to decline in manufacturing, due to indiscriminate increase in imports, Indian economy is facing the unprecedented problem of unemployment. The lack of employment in traditional industries and declining rate of employment in service sector have generated greater unemployment problem in India. In 2019, the overall unemployment rate is 5.4%, and the youth unemployment 15.2424 rate in the year 2019. So this is another reason we are compelled to introduce the mission Self-Reliant India. The fifth one is imperative food self-sufficiency. After the implementation of new economic policy, the same policy, Indian government advocates the policy of opening agricultural markets completely for import and not thinking of self-sufficiency in food sector. The misleading policy could not foresee the imperative of food self-sufficiency for the survival of all countrymen in the event of pandemic situation. The another one reason I have recently added the reason is the higher logistic costs. Higher logistic costs, that is the transport cost. According to Vinod Sharma, MD of KG Electronics, the Indian industry faces much higher cost in inputs such as electricity, much higher logistic costs than Chinese firms. It costs rupees 4 per kilogram for a shipment of cable to arrive to Mumbai from a city 300 kilometers away from Shanghai. But it costs around rupees 14 per kilogram for that shipment to be transported from Mumbai to a factory in Noida. So the transport cost incurs heavy, that is the larger logistic cost. Another one reason we have to concentrate on the domestic production by implementing the scheme, that is the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan scheme. So these are some of the reasons behind the implementation of the theme Self-Reliant India. Now, 5 pillars of the Self-Reliant India. According to Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi, a self-reliant India will stand on 5 pillars, namely economy, which brings a quantum jump and not incremental change. The first important pillar, the economy. Second is infrastructure, which should become the identity of India. Third pillar, system, based on the 21st century technology-driven arrangements. Fourth pillar, vibrant demography, which is our source of energy for a self-reliant India. Fifth pillar, demand, whereby the strength of our demand and supply chain should be utilized for full capacity. Prime Minister underlined the importance of strengthening all stakeholders in the supply chain to increase as well as fulfill the demand. So, based on these 5 pillars, we have to construct the self-reliant India. Now, we will analyze these 5 pillars, whether is it suitable or not, whether is it possible, feasible or not. We can discuss one by one. The first pillar, economy. When we talk about our Indian economy, the economy of India is characterized as a developing market economy. It is the world's 5th largest economy by nominal GDP and the third largest by purchasing power parity. This is one of the plus point, that is our economy. GDP and since the beginning of the 21st century, the annual average GDP growth has been 6% to 7%. And from 2014 to 2018, India was the world's fastest growing major economy. Another thing is the long-term growth perspective of the Indian economy remains positive due to its young population. Our past President Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam mentioned about our youth population. Here, our plus point is our Indian economy, the young population, corresponding low depending ratio. Another criteria, healthy savings and investment rates, and is increasing integration into the global economy. With 520 million workers, the Indian labor force is the world second largest as of 2019. And regarding another criteria, India is the world's sixth largest manufacturer, representing 3% of global manufacturing output and employs over 57 million people. It has the world's seventh largest foreign exchange reserves worth $476 billion. Our economy, India ranks second globally in food and agricultural production, while agricultural exports were $38.5 billion. The construction and real estate sector is the largest employer after agriculture and a vital sector to promote the economic activity. India's telecommunication industry is the world's second largest by number of mobile phone, smartphone, and internet users. It is the world's 10th largest oil producer and the third largest oil consumer. The Indian automobile industry is the world's fourth largest by production. India has the world's fourth largest natural resources, with the mining sector contributes 11% of the country's industrial GDP and 2.5% of the total GDP, gross domestic product. It is also the world's second largest coal producer, the second largest cement producer, the second largest steel producer, and the third largest electricity producer. These are the economic parameters, the strong pillars for the self-reliant India. So the first important thing is the economy. Our economy, one of the best pillar to construct the self-reliant India. Second pillar, that is infrastructure. Infrastructure, one mistake, okay. Infrastructure. India's infrastructure and transport sector contributes about 5% of its GDP. India has a road network of over 54,72,144 kilometers as of March 2015. The second largest road network in the world, only behind the United States. At 1.66 kilometers of roads per square kilometer of land, that is the land and road ratio, the quantity quantitative density of India's road network is higher than that of Japan, 0.91, and the United States, 0.67, and far higher than that of China, 0.46, Brazil, 0.18, or Russia, 0.08. So our Indian road network is also higher than that of the other countries. India has the lowest kilometer land road density per 1 lakh people among G27 countries, leading to traffic congestion. Indian Railways is the fourth largest rail network in the world, with a track length of 1,14,500 kilometers and 7,172 stations. The government owned and operated railway network carried an average of 23 million passengers a day and over a billion of freight. India has a coastline of, regarding our coastal belt, India has a coastline of 7,500 kilometers with 13 major ports and 60 operational non-major ports, which together handle 95% of country's external trade by volume and 70% of value. The most of the remainder handled by air. Naga Seva, Mumbai, the largest public port, while Mundra is the largest private seaport in India. The airport infrastructure of India includes 125 airports, of which 66 airports are licensed to handle both passengers and cargo. So, regarding the infrastructure, we have a good number of infrastructure I have pointed to here. And third one is third pillar of our India, the self-reliant India. Third one is system. Based on the 21st century technology-driven arrangements, India ranks third among the most attractive investment destination for technology transactions in the world. India ranked 6th on scientific publications and 10 on patents, and at the Nature Index based on the counts of high quality research outputs in natural sciences. India stood third in the number of science and engineering publications in the world. India ranked 52 in Global Innovation Index GII 2019. It ranked 50 in gross expenditure on research and development R&D segment with 0.6% of our total GDP spending. The government is extensively promotions research parks, technology business incubators, TPIs and RPs, which would promote the innovative ideas till they become commercial ventures. India is the world's third largest technology startup with incorporation of 1,000 new companies in 2017. Our Indian government introduced the Make in India concept in 2014 and 15. So after that, we are getting more number of investments in various companies. The engineering R&D and product development market in India is forecast to grow at a CAGR, compound annual growth rate of 10.65% to reach $42 billion by the year 2022 from $31 billion in 2019. By 2022, R&D expenditure is targeted to reach at least 2% of country's GDP. India is gradually becoming self-reliant in nuclear technology. So the third pillar is we are very strong in the system. Fourth pillar, vibrant demography. It is the main source of energy for self-reliant India. India is the second most populated country in the world with nearly a fifth of the world population. According to 2019 revision of the world population prospects, population in India is stood at 136.26 crores. India has more than 50% of population below the age of 25 and more than 65% below the age of 35. The sex ratio is 944 females for 1,000 males in 2017. This ratio had been showing an upward trend for the last two decades after a continuous decline in the last century. Regarding the literacy rate, the literacy rate is 74% for the age of 7 and above years and 81.4% for the age of 15 to 25 years. The average age of an Indian will be 29 years, compared 37 for China and 48 for Japan. India has more than 2,000 ethnic groups and every major religion is represented as are four major families of languages. They are Indo-European, Dravidian, Austro-Asiatic and Sino-Tibet languages, and as well as two language isolates, the Nigal language spoken in parts of Maharashtra and Kurushakti language spoken in parts of Jammu and Kashmir. Nearly 10 lakhs people in India are Anglo-Indians and 7 lakh Westerners from the United States are living in India. So these are the background, the demographic background of our Indian economy. This is another one of the important pillar to construct the self-reliant India. Fifth one is demand. The strength of our demand and supply chain should be utilized to full capacity. The primary aim of self-reliant is to ensure India's position as a key participant in global supply chains. The introduction of GST, goods and service tax, the liberalizing foreign direct investment FDI rules, and increases government spending has helped for the growth in the supply chain. India's aspiration to become a global manufacturing purchase powerhouses and government spotlight on Make in India also compels nationwide supply chain reforms. Promotions several federal and state-based schemes and investment incentives. In the last 3 years, India's supply chain sector has an influx of capital, both foreign and domestic. Firms like Further Supply Solutions have raised almost $2 billion, that is rupees 130 billion, in investment from domestic and foreign channels. The French firm FM Logistic recently acquired Pune-based Spearhead Logistic, investing over 18 million US dollar, around rupees 500 million, with further plans to invest $46 million, and that is rupees 3 billion, to set up warehouses all over India. The proposed CUP in Maharashtra, Gujarat, and NCR, that is a National Capital Region, will provide end-to-end supply chain services such as small processing facilities and final delivery transport services. The Dubai-owned DP World recently signed a $3 billion investment, a joint venture platform with NIIF, National Investment Infrastructure Fund, to construct several sea and river ports, among other logistic projects. So these are the 5 important pillars to construct the self-reliant India mentioned by our Prime Minister under the Atma Nirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. Now, there are some constraints. If any step we take forward, there are some constraints, there are some problems. So, is it possible to reach the self-reliant India goal? We need to discuss about some constraints. That is, when we regulate the import, as per our self-reliant India, regulating import and encouraging the domestic consumption. Two important concepts. When we emphasize in these concepts, 2 broad concepts in the self-reliant India mission. They are protection and promotion of domestic production, that is, vocal for local. So the present government has brought up the importance of local manufacturing and consumption of locally produced goods. In this juncture, we have to analyze the manufacturing sector's relation to the import of goods. They are identified as the sectors which are heavily dependent on imports. Partially dependence, minimal dependence. Heavily dependence on imports. According to Confederation of Indian Industry, CII, electrical equipment such as smartphones and computers are the key parts of India's import bill. Around 88% of the components used by the mobile handsets industry are imported, and over 60% of the country's medical devices are imported as well. Other products heavily imported into the country are cells and modules used by the country's solar power industry. So these are the sectors which are depend heavily on the imports. So we have to think, how do we rectify the issue? Second is partially depend on imports. India imported around rupees 249 billion worth of key ingredients used by the manufacture of domestic pharmaceutical industry. That is, 40% of all the overall domestic consumption. Medical devices like ventilators, solenoid valves, the pressure sensors are imported from other countries. Auto manufacturer, especially electronic vehicles, chemicals used to make the cathodes and battery cells, raw materials and chemicals used by the India's dyes and dyestuff industries are practically dependent on imports. So these are the sectors which are dependent partially on the imports. Third, minimal dependence on imports. While technology transfer is required for more advanced and critical medical devices, the country does have the capacity to domestically make products like hot water bottles, mercury thermometers, hyperionic needles, wheelchairs, and patient monitoring display units, etc. So the sector which is minimal dependence on the import. So these three sectors, we have to think how do we solve the problems or to reduce the import the products from other countries. When we develop the science and technology is one of the pillar of our self-reliant India. I think it is possible to reduce the imports gradually by the implementation of self-reliant India. Now, before going to the concluding part, I have to mention some of the measures. Now the time is also, I would like to take 10 more minutes to complete the speech. Atmar Nirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, the total measure announced in two-fold. One is to the interim measures to the liquidity infusion and direct cash transfers. The second one is the long-term reforms in both critical sectors to make them globally competitive and attractive. So the Prime Minister also observed the package, also focused 4 L's, that is land, labor, liquidity and laws. It will cater to various sections including cottage industry, MSME, laborers, middle class industries and other sectors. Now I have categorized the package announced by under the Self-Reliant India mission. There are 4 sectors I have categorized. First one is measures for agriculture and farmers, that is the primary sector. NABARD, National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development, is providing rupees 90,000 crores over and above for crop loans to rural cooperative banks and regional rural banks. Mostly 3 crore small and marginal farmers will get the benefit. Under PM Kisan Credit Card Scheme, rupees 2 lakh crore concession credit will be provided to the 2.5 crore farmers, including fishermen and animal husbandry. During lockdown, rupees 74,300 crores worth of procurement at minimum support by MSP and rupees 18,700 crores transferred to PM Kisan beneficiaries. In order to strengthening the agri infrastructure, logistic and capacity building, 1 lakh crore is allotted for agri infrastructure fund for farm gate infrastructure, cold chain and the fast harvest management infrastructure. Pradhan Mantri Matya Sampat Yojana is to be launched at the cost of rupees 20,000 crores for integrated, sustainable, inclusive development of marine and inland fisheries. Regarding the animal husbandry, rupees 15,000 crore for animal husbandry infrastructure and rupees 13,000 crore are to be used for National Animal Disease Control Program. An amount of rupees 4,000 crore for promotion of herbal cultivation and rupees 500 crores for beekeeping initiatives and rupees 500 crores for Operation Green from top to total will be spent under this self-reliant India. Second, the category that is for the measures for the secondary sector, measures for MSME, micro, small and medium enterprises. Nearly 2 lakh MSME are likely to benefit from the fund rupees 20,000 crores, subordinate debt and rupees 50,000 crore equity infusion fund. New definition for MSME sector is also introduced by eliminating the distinction between manufacturer and service sector. Rupees 2,500 crore ESI support for workers and rupees 6,750 crores liquidity support for the workers in MSME are provided for the next 3 months. As per the PM vision of Vocal for Local with global outreach, a scheme is introduced at the cost of rupees 10,000 crore for the formalization of micro food enterprises. The other measures, third one is measures for the tertiary sector. Rupees 15,000 crores has been already announced for the health related steps taken for COVID containment. In the insurance of rupees 50 lakh each for health professionals are announced under PMGKP. The other initiatives in the health sector are rollout of E-Sanjeevi Vani, telecommunication services, virtual learning modules, iCard platform, Arogya Setu, amendment in Epidemic Diseases Act, etc. These are the measures in the health sector. In the education sector, there is technology-driven segments, online education like Swayam, Prabha, TDI channels, Diksha platform, new textbooks through E-Pathasala, PM E-Vidya, multimode access on online education are to be launched. Top 10 universities are permitted to start online courses. Under Mano Darban schemes, psychosocial support are initiated to the students, teachers, families, etc. So these are the measures announced under Self-Reliant India scheme, the tertiary sector. Finally, I would like to highlight, because it is very important area, measures migrant workers, hotel and restaurant, and the enterprises, micro enterprises. The announcement made under the scheme, that is mission, rupees 11,000 crore was released to state government to utilize the state disaster response fund for providing food and shelter for migrants. The state governments are advised to enroll the returning migrants and provide works as per the provision of MGNREG Act. Social security schemes for unorganized workers, reskilling fund for temporary workers or platform workers are also provided. Nearly 8 crore migrant workers got the benefit of the free rice and chana under National Food Security Act at the cost of rupees 3,500 crore. The One Nation and One Ration card system will also enable migrant beneficiaries at any states, and 67 crore beneficiaries and in 23 states covering 83% of PDS population are covered under this scheme. Rupees 5,000 crores of special credits are provided to the street vendors by initial working capital of rupees 10,000. In order to create job opportunities in urban, semi-urban, rural and tribal areas, rupees 6,000 crores are allotted under CAMPA scheme. Under 1.7 lakh crore relief packages under PMGKY, that is the Construction Workers Welfare Fund, are to be used to provide the relief workers. So these are the packages announced by the Atmar Nirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. Now the concluding session, that is concluding remarks. While concluding, it is suggested that the best way for enhancing demand is to spend on greenfield infrastructure. The infrastructure spending uniquely creates structure that raises productivity and extends spending powers up to the section of the population, namely daily wage laborers. For financing of the stimulus packages, India's foreign reserves stand at an all-time high, which could be strategically used to finance its needs. The rest may have to come from privatization. So, thank you very much. I have completed. I think I have taken more time. Thank you one and all. Now,
Thank you, sir.
Yes, madam. Any
Thank
questions?
Yes, sir. There is a question. Thank you so much. Your presentation was so wonderful and timely, Nina. Sir, one question raised by dear participants. It's time to raise your questions. We can have a wonderful open session with our eminent professor, Dr. M. Soundarpandian, sir. If you have any questions, please raise your hands, or you can raise the questions directly to sir. Before you start up your question, sir, there is a question raised by Shivakumar Somasundaram.
Yes.
He has asked that would you please tell us how this self-reliant India strategy will lead to a resilient recovery from the current COVID pandemic period?
The question is a very good question. Here, the Self-Reliant India mission is initiated in two main purposes. That is, one is the interim measures to get relief from the COVID-19 situation. And another thing is the long-term measures I already mentioned. So, self-reliant is not possible in this situation. But in long term, it will be possible. So I already mentioned the twofold objectives of the Self-Reliant India mission. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, another question raised by Dr. D. Karthigeyan. He has raised two questions. First is, all these 5 pillars were established from 1951 to 2014. From 14, how many infrastructure facilities are established? I'll come to the another question after this, sir.
Yes. Infrastructure, regarding the infrastructure, I have highlighted some of the things, road, rail and airport and port facilities. It is also developed, we are in the developing economy. we are developing the each and every infrastructure in proportion to the development of our the growth of the population as well as our the development of the urbanization, etc. The infrastructure also developed day by day. This is one of the pillar because now we can definitely do the self-reliant India with the available infrastructure. Finally, in my concluding remarks, I have mentioned we have to invest more on the greenfield infrastructure. In the concluding remarks, I have mentioned. So only when we develop the infrastructure facilities, that is greenfield infrastructure, we could reach the self-reliant India. Thank you.
Sir, his another question is, after the implementation of the demonetization and the GST, the total MSME sector was destroyed. COVID-19 also destroyed the demand side too. Now we started to sell all our infrastructure to corporates. How can we get a self-reliant economy?
Okay, the very good analytical question. Today, you can see the newspaper. Today, our finance minister Nirmala Sitharaman also mentioned about some of the packages will be announced for the development of MSME. I accept after demonetization as well as the GST and the present COVID-19 is also affect our MSME sector. Even though our government announced a major portion of the package amount for the development of the MSME sector. Let us wait. We will see. It will get growth because the aim is protecting our domestic industries. The self-reliant is protecting domestic industries and also to reduce the import. So it will also definitely develop our MSME sector in due course. Thank you.
Sir, this is the last and another question raised by Dr. K. Jayakodi. Self-reliant India will be the road ahead. For example, top 10 universities are allowed for online education. If it is so, what about the rest?
Regarding our higher education, he is talking about our higher education. That is, he mentioned about the online education. So there are some crises. We have to change the crisis into opportunity. Whatever crisis, we have to make the crisis and we have to change the crisis into opportunities. So when we change this crisis into opportunities, let us do the goal, we can reach the goal of the self-reliant India. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Dear participants, do you have any other questions to discuss? Okay, sir. No response from the participant side right now. On my behalf, sir, thank you so much for your wonderful, timely needed presentation about self-reliant India. The global pandemic shows us the benefits of Be Indian and Buy Indian policy. We have now become critically aware of our own supply chain too. We know that relying on our countries for critical items will ultimately put us at our mercy. To avoid with adversity for ourselves, it is more important than ever that we become self-reliant and reduce our dependency on other countries. Well said, sir. The pandemic has taught the importance of self-reliant regarding the local manufacturing side too, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Yes,
we economics and economics teachers, we have to take these points and create awareness among our students regarding the self-reliant India right now. Thank you so
Okay.
much, sir.
Yes,
Now
yes.
I call upon the organizing secretary, Dr. A. Chandraprabha, to deliver here vote of thanks. Chandraprabha, Dr. Chandraprabha.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Good afternoon to all. Now it's my bound duty to express my gratitude to the resource persons, the secretary, the principal, chief guest, head of the department faculties, and the participants. First of all, my sincere thanks to our secretary for has given permitted the webinar due to his busy schedule. He is not able to attend this seminar on time. Thank you, sir. I express my sincere gratitude to our principal, Dr. C. Vijay Prabha ma'am, who has accepted our humble invite and felicitated the program. Thank you, ma'am. I first of all extend my most sincere thanks to the God Almighty on my behalf. I extend a very hearty vote of thanks to the chief guest, Dr. M. Soundrapandian, Professor and Dean, School of Management Studies, Gandhigram Rural Institute, Gandhigram, who spared time from his busy schedule to grace the occasion. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I express our sincere thanks to our head, Dr. S. Binduja, Associate Professor and Head, Department of Economics, Sri Devi Kumari Women's College, Koliturai, who is coordinating all welfare activities during this Corona lockdown period. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
I express my sincere thanks to all our department faculties, Dr. N. Baby, Dr. S.B. Mini, Dr. J.P. Srija, who is motivating me to conduct the webinar in a successful manner. Thank you all. And my special thanks to all participants all over Tamil Nadu and foreign countries, especially faculties, students in different colleges, and your attendants and participants. Thank you to all. Last but not least, my sincere thanks to our professors, friends, and students, particularly Mr. S. Divagaran, ECE engineer, and system operators, and thank you to one and all. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. And Dr.
Thank you,
Chandraprabha,
Sir,
Chandraprabha is my first PhD scholar. So I appreciate the effort taken by the Dr. Chandraprabha as a student, as my student. He reached, he also mentioned, achieved many things. And my best wishes to Dr. J. Chandraprabha.
Sir,
Thank you.
I'm also thankful to you to mold her like this. She's a very vibrant faculty in our department.
Yes,
Like
madam.
other faculties also, she's also a little bit vibrant. Thank you so much for.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very
so
much.
much, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.